Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Sifu Messiah. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. Links can be found in the description for everything we discuss, so let's get on with it. This week we have 10 questions answered from the writers, Around the Verse episode 47 and the May monthly report, which is definitely not to be missed. A big thank you to Andrew Shawster, who has become our latest patron. Thank you very much for your support. So, kicking this episode off, we, as usual, have a 10-4 episode, and it is 10 for the writers this week. I chose 8 out of the 10 questions, as the majority of them were really good. So, starting with the first question, and it is, will career choices or actions play into your reputation when interacting with NPCs? And they say that yes, it will. They don't want it to be a good versus evil. So if you make a bad choice, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are evil and you have to follow the bad choice or the black or the evil route the whole way through. So it wants to be more of a grey rather than black and white. So there's grey areas. Very much like life. You know, you can make a right decision one day and then a bad decision the next day. It doesn't make you a bad guy. But in like certain examples, when your rep gets high enough, NPCs will start to react with you appropriately. So for example, if you're a really well-known bounty hunter, then pirates, when they see your ship or they see you, will begin acting in a sort of protagonist way towards you because of your reputation. So there will be an ongoing reputation, which is very cool. So the next question is, can we eavesdrop on other people's conversations to get quests or information, for example? And they say that yes, definitely, in lots of different areas, and it will actually pay off for players who want to take the time to listen rather than just scurrying off all the time. So you could be sat in a bar, having a drink, waiting for your mate to turn up, just listening to someone say that there's an asteroid field out in this certain location, and then you can tell your org and they can go out and search for it. So it will pay off if you take the time to just listen to what other people are saying, or even NPCs are saying. Anyway, next question, which is quite a relevant question, and I'm really interested, is will there be in-fiction television and radio programs? And they say that yes, they are already laying the groundwork. Obviously, we have seen the Empire Report, which is an in-fiction news report, and it sounds like they will continue this on a sort of regular basis for us all to see, which is very cool. You can tune in on an evening time maybe and listen in and see what's happening around the rest of the universe. They say there will be sort of semi-regular Empire Reports or Kaizen for your sort of inverse companies' financial issues and so forth. They did say it will hopefully not just be news shows. They will have sort of in-fiction, sort of fiction shows or dramas and so forth. So very much like we see on games like Grand Theft Auto, where you can sit and watch programs, but I think they'll be a bit more in-depth rather than just a simple rerun of the same program. And hopefully, if they're able to do this, then I, without a doubt, would guarantee they would allow fans to do it as well, provided they allow it. I don't see why not. Anyway, next question. Is there a thought for intergalactic Red Cross-style organisation in Star Citizen lore? Maybe an NPC-driven agency which would generate humanitarian or disaster relief missions, sort of including search and rescue, medical assistance, or even evac. And now this actually came up a while ago, and they say that yes, there was a lore post about this, and I'll try and find it for you all to read, which is to do with a famine on one of the planets, and they need sort of medical assistance for people to bring in medical supplies and food. But also they did say that, for example, having a big carrier ship, you may be needed to help pick up a lot of people on a planet which is slowly being absorbed by its sun. So it sounds like there will be lots of these ideas, and they say it'll be nice for players to help people in a positive way rather than just constant combat. They also say that obviously if ships get blown up, then these people who were in the ships will need rescuing. So search and rescue will probably be quite a prominent occupation within the verse. And I'm pretty sure I remember reading somewhere a while back to do with like an act that has been brought in. So people who are in the medical profession, like the Red Cross, they are off ground basically on the battlefield. If you are firing, if there's two opposing forces and you are a Red Cross member, then you will not be shot, or you should not be shot, otherwise there will be greater consequences for it. So whether or not that'll play in part of it and you can be a member of that, I don't know, but hopefully there'll be some protection on the battlefield so you're not constantly being shot at. Anyway, moving on to the next question. Is there a plan to record player activities in a personal journal, for example? And they say that yes, they will have a running log, hopefully, of all the things that you have done, for example, the systems you have visited, the people you have met. But keeping a journal in a personal way where you add to the journal is not likely. They say it'll just be basic stats as to where you've been. And they say that the Mobiglass will actually play a part in this, because that will track everything from sort of, like your travel app to your system app and so forth, where you've been and who you know. So it'll all be in your Mobiglass in that sort of sense. Maybe not in a traditional style journal that you're probably probably thinking. Anyway, next question. Will the PU political situation ever change? And this is quite an interesting question, because this again leads on to the realism and the immersion feeling, or the immersion factor that we will get from playing this. And they say, yes, definitely something for the future they want to do is things like elections in the PU, where people will push campaigns to try and get voted in, and possibly we may be able to influence that political decision by voting. So you may have the option to vote for a specific leader or group to take control of a certain system, so on and so forth. Not sure to what depth it's going to be, but it does sound very interesting. Anyway, second to last question is, how will conversations flow in the persistent universe? Will there be looping questions? So you're going back and forth all the time, you can constantly bring it up. And it says that no, if you miss a conversation in Squadron 42, for example, you cannot go back and re-listen to it. So it's that sort of realism where someone isn't just going to keep repeating themselves like they do in, say, Skyrim. You have to listen to what they're saying. Also, it says if you choose a specific branch of conversation, you will not see what the other branch had to offer. So if you had two directions you could have gone in and you choose one, usually you could go back and choose the other one and just see, what would have happened that way. It's not going to be the same for Squadron 42, I expect, and the persistent universe. Whatever path you decide on is what you'll have to follow with that particular person. So you'll have to sort of approach them delicately and actually listen. I know I often just click buttons to try and skip through stuff just to get on with the gameplay, but in this sense, I will not be doing that. And it also says if you want to find out more about the characters, you have to specifically ask them. They won't just rabbit on about themselves like they do in other games. So if you don't ask them who they are, what they do, then you will not probably find out about them. Very, very cool, very immersive too. So last question, will we be able to play sort of flashback missions from battles gone maybe through the eyes of your ancestors, etc.? And they say it's an interesting idea. Obviously things like the sim pods could allow you access to play historical battles. I know something was mentioned about historical battles like the Tavarian War, but I don't think they've got anything in mind just yet. But the sim pod sort of allows you access to this, so if they did have a game mode of an old historic battle, then they'd just make it into an arcade game in the sim pod. Anyway, that was the 10 for the writers. Tell me your thoughts. It would be nice to know what you guys think. So on to Around the Verse episode 47, and Sandy is back for a couple of weeks before she heads back to London. It sounds like they're having she's having a break, but she'll be back down there in a couple of weeks, getting back on with the whole PCAP motion capture shoot. They say it's going very well, but obviously they can't reveal anything to us now. Anyway, they mentioned that during the Reliance sale, they sold more of them than any other ship ever. And Ben did mention they will be flyable later this year, but there was no date as to when. Fingers crossed it's not too late in the year. So on news from around the verse, starting with the Santa Monica CIG office, they say they're working on the character update, specifically the FPS characters. They should be wrapped up this week. Also, they're working on the pipeline for the characters, very similar to the ship pipeline they have, which will allow progress to be far more efficient than it used to be, which means that anytime there's anything that needs to be updated on the FPS characters or the characters in general, it should be rolled out much smoother, much quicker, and on our computers a lot faster. Anyway, they say they're also preparing for multi-crew, which is very exciting. They say they're working on the early concept for what each station will look like, the interactions, the gameplay, what info you will need on your screen at the time, sort of as a turret gunner maybe, and also getting into and out of ships and how that will work when you are in the multi-crew situation. So on to Ilphonic. They say the focus is on the ground-based combat, non-zero G around the Gold Horizon. They say they're working on the stop, start and juke system, which is how your character moves back and forth. It's not going to be a quick twitch where you can change direction at 10 miles an hour. Instantly, your character will have to come to a stop before he can set off again, and then he has to build up speed again. It's going to be very realistic. So they have lots of playtesting, obviously, in non-gravity situations for this to work. They also say that they are looking into how to optimize everything, and they did go into a little bit of detail about what it involves, straight over my head, but it will be optimized, so hopefully we'll be able to get a good FPS on it, because I'm sure there'll be a lot going on. Anyway, moving on to the Austin branch of CIG, they say that Behaviour are working on the Nix-Levski landing zone, and they are currently working on the shaders and the texture phase, so they've got it out of, I think it was white or grey boxing, so we should be seeing some more of that soon. Also, the mining gameplay prototype is wrapped up now, which is very exciting. This was something that we heard about a while ago, so it sounds like they've got the actual gameplay working for each area, because there's about 4 or 5 different areas involved with mining. They say they are now moving on to the Pioneer, which used to be the Exploration career. It has now changed its name, and doing the same thing with that. They mentioned the Universe Sim, or the Economic Sim as it used to be known, is functioning and working, and they said that they can zoom in now and see ships flying from point to point, as they should be, which is very, very exciting. So, moving to Foundry 42, we heard from a visual effects artist, and he says that he is working on ships, specifically the damage effects, but the whole team is also working on the lightning clouds, nebulas, really big scale stuff, but also the interior small scale stuff like sparks and steam. So again, it's all coming together really, really nicely, and I can just imagine flying past the nebula or flying through a cloud of lightning and, you know, hoping that your ship withholds and stands up to it. Anyway, during the transitions between certain parts, I'll show you a video now. It has this little blurb of changing channel, which must be their way of explaining how, you know, there will be different channels to watch, maybe like watching Around the Verse where you can switch between channels. And they had something called the Meridian Transit, which looks like a travel show, which, to be honest, I hope they don't do, because I'm planning on doing one, but they may do. Mine will be a different one. There's more than one program on everything these days, so no harm done there. Anyway, James Pugh sat down with Matt Sherman today. He is the technical designer, and he is the one who had worked on the Reliant and getting the stats as they should be. He's also working on the physically based damage system, and they're going to change it a little bit, where you cannot just kill someone instantly. They say there should be a bit more than just a single sort of meeting and a quick 10-second battle, you know, where you can just literally head shoot them through the glass. With this new damage tech, it said it should be, you know, it should take about a minute or two when you're one-on-one with a fighter, and hopefully that means no more headshots, because that would be a real game breaker for me. Anyway, after that, we met with Lisa Ohanian, who does the ship shape, and she was specifically talking about the Starfarer today, which was quite exciting. This is the ship that can collect fuel, can haul fuel, and can refuel ships while in flight. It's been worked on by Foundry 42 in the UK, and they say it's way bigger inside than it looks from the outside. Also, they showed us a little snippet, I'll show you now, the work in progress of the airlock very early, and apparently the art director is not a big fan of the yellow that we see inside. But after they've finished that, they've got to work on the power plant and the gravity room, and then I think they're nearly done. They just need to make sure that the exterior matches the interior, and then I think the Starfarer will hopefully be finished, and then it'll be hopefully just getting it into engine, and then we can see it and get our hands in it and explore. So from there we met with Travis Day, and he just gave us a little Star Marine update. Now these are coming around because obviously it's getting very close to the release of Star Marine, and they want to keep it in mind of what they're working on and what needs to be sorted. They say they are finalising the locomotion, as we know, the start, the stops, the dukes. That's coming together nicely. They're also working on the instance manager. Now this is a big core feature, and it helps with sort of matchmaking and scalability, because they are now using a new matchmaking system which will be much smoother than what we've ever seen before. So you shouldn't be constantly waiting to join a match or being kicked from matches. Fingers crossed anyway. Also, while other departments are not able to do anything because they are waiting for the FPS module to be ready, they are just polishing things, the lighting, the visual effects, getting everything polished even more because they have the time to do this, which is good. It's a good way of spending their time and our money that we are spending on the game. Anyway, they say that the release of this will be very much like Arena Commander. It'll all depend on your UEE number. Now, I'm about 90,000, so it'll come out, I think they did it the first 50,000, then the first 150, then the first 250. So they'll roll it out to the first early members or early backers, and then it'll just roll out even further as it gets stable and they get good reports on it. So then by the end of it, obviously everyone can play. Now they will be patching twice a week, so if you have a capped internet, they say it probably won't be for you because they're going to be big patches by the sounds of it. Anyway, the military focused ships are on sale again because of the free flight week that has just passed. A lot of people were asking for them, so if you wanted to get hold of a Hornet, a Gladius, a Gladiator, all the different military type focused ships, now is your chance, as they are up for sale. They should be up for sale now. And then finally, the sneak peek is, in my opinion, a new scanner system for a landing zone. It could be the Levski Nick system, but we have seen something similar in the Persistent Universe demo that we saw when they landed on Stanton. This looks rather cool though. Anyway, that was Around the Verse. Please tell me your thoughts on everything we've mentioned. Okay, so with the transition from May to June, we had a new monthly report. It is a large report, especially now there's a new Frankfurt studio, so let's get on with it. So starting with CIG in Santa Monica, they say they sold 19,000 Reliants. Obviously it's the most they've sold, and they're all working hard to get that out to us. There's been a big balance pass over all the missiles, so there's now a better chance of escaping when fired upon. The missile lock times have increased from 2 seconds to 5 seconds, so it's more difficult now to get an actual lock-on with your missile. missiles, which I think is a good thing because I think the missiles were slightly overpowered. So one ship in the pipeline is the Crusader Industries Genesis Starliner, which is a bit larger than a Boeing 747. They say the 747 is about 70 odd meters in length. It's going to be the first passenger ship, and they're currently going over the questions: passenger capacity, safety for the passengers, and sort of the maximum flight times with each flight. The exterior has been decided upon, and it is now the interior concepts which are being worked on. Very excited to see that ship. They're making strides on the physically based damage system. All weapons will have a complete revamp and on damage and handling, and also changes to ship health, power plant output, cooling rates, and, well, the full works basically. They also say they're dialing in some of the flight and thruster handling for the game, so it sounds like they're really polishing everything. On the art side, the HUD and UI, they have created and implemented new helmet interiors. There's a video, I think, for the medium helmet. They affect field of view and help with the realism, they say. It also gives players choices based on their own personal preference and diversity, so depending on what you prefer and whether or not you suffer from claustrophobia, I assume would play a part as well. There's been focus on the ship destruction, salvage, and optimization. It says designers are planning on a new gameplay mechanic such as debris salvage and ship repair. So the real enemy in Star Citizen is draw calls, and they've been doing a lot of improvements for the sort of CPU and rendering sides of things, which will help our FPS. And going back to draw calls, it's the amount of render passes on each item of geometry to create the final image. They say it's quite a conundrum at the moment, but debris from ship requires lots of draw calls, and they obviously want to keep the debris for the realistic purposes, but it's a matter of finding a balance between the two. And they're currently looking into this, but they're hoping to allow for the debris shot from your ships to be a salvageable component which can be reused or recycled, or even things like, weapons being shot off. And they say the plan is to release Squadron 42 with amazingly fun gameplay and silky smooth frame rate, so they are really going through everything and optimizing it to the best they can, because it is going to be a demanding game. So on to engineering. They say the Radar 2.0 work is completed, which is excellent. The radar will pick up anything they want it to. Now, it's capable of filtering any kind of signature types as well. So, for example, we obviously know the EM and the IR signature types. There's also a new signature type which is called decibels, and this is for while you're on foot. So your radar can display audio from footsteps and weapon fire. This will apparently debut with the FPS module, but this is exciting because I remember playing Alien as a child on, I think it was the Mega Drive, and you would hear that little bip of noise which comes from when you hear the alien's motion sensor basically. But this will be very cool because you can hear people walking around you, whether it be human, alien, Van Duel, anything. Very, very cool. It'll really add the atmosphere there. So they're also working on the player character clothing customization attachments, which is using the item port system. You can, say for example, equip a chest plate which will allow for a tack light, an oxygen tank, or a chest holster, all sorts of things, and it's all added to each other depending on what loadout you want. So moving on to the CIG team in Austin. This is the PU team. They are moving the Nix Delamar Levski landing zone into the final art stage. It's past the grey box stage and it looks amazing, they say. It's going to be super exciting, they say, selling things on the black market in a shady back alley or traversing winding asteroid tunnels. Really cannot wait to visit that site. It will be one of the 3 that is available to us for the social module, or the more pirated area. They're also optimising Stanton Art Core Area 18 landing zone for better performance for when the social module hits. Now they're finished with the FPS characters and now moving on to starterboard characters. They're doing some research and development on hair and swappable clothing for the social module as well. And also, when it comes to GeForce, they're improving the animations and testing the grabby hand system. Lots of work, very important work. So the design team for the Persistent Universe is fleshing out other Persistent Universe occupations, the Pioneer or Exploration career, and how it will relate to the functionality of the upcoming ship, which they didn't mention which ship, but I can only assume maybe the Carrick. They say the first pass on how the mercenary escort occupation would work has been done. They are tackling the bounty hunter and the smuggling occupation, which is amazing. I'm so excited to hear about these. If they are as in depth as the mining occupation, we're going to have a lot of fun. Anyway, they're waiting for Tony Zirovec to review and then pass it on for gameplay implementation. They've finished the first draft of the Universe Simulator as well, which is the economic simulator. They're also going over the design and layouts for upcoming planetside locations like the Magnus, Borea, Odessa, and Helios, Tangaroa, Mariana. Whew, that's a bit of a mouthful. Anyway, both offer exciting opportunities and a lot of diversity. They will share some of it when it comes online. And next month, they are working on other Stanton landing zones such as Crusader, Hurston, and Microtech. So on the engineering side, they are working on the generic instance manager, which improves matchmaking and party systems, which will be part of the FPS module, so it should be a lot smoother to join a game. They are hoping to deliver a proof of concept for the Universe simulator, working on the first iteration of the solar system server, and research and development for the initial prototyping of the Discover occupation, which is, again, I believe, the Pioneer. So on the QA department, they are ensuring that the FPS Star Marine module is being tested every day and really ironing out as many bugs as possible. They're also testing the social module too, and obviously next month's focus will be on testing Alpha 1.2. So game support, they're optimizing the game in many areas as mentioned before as each patch comes online, and they're looking into how to increase the player cap for Arena Commander after a successful 8v8 round of matches. So on to Foundry 42 in the UK, they say in regards to the conversation system, they are fixing up the NPC to NPC conversations. The multiplayer conversation system is getting its first pass ready for the social module, and they are revamping the player choice UI for branching conversations, which is how you lead from one part of a conversation to the next. So it should look quite interesting. Anyway, in regards to the personal arc welder, or the POR, it is a weapon tool for repairing, which I think with it emitting a heat type signature, you can actually hurt people with them, and you can now see how surfaces are being cut and affected by the energy from this item. Very, very cool. They're also working on the looting system and hydraulic doors, and the doors are extensions of the sort of normal auto door. It can now be computer controlled, so you can now lock doors going in either direction. They've added a new security method with correct security privileges to lock and unlock doors. If you are not a high up echelon in your org, you will not be able to get through these doors. They're also refining the lockdown and manual override mechanic, and on certain doors you can use your POR or your personal arc wielder to cut out a section to reveal a hydronic sort of manual pump, which you'll need to use to open the door by hand, which is very much like Alien Isolation. Very cool, especially if you're being chased by a Vandal. You want to get through the door, you've got to cut it open first and then open it manually. Very, very scary. Anyway, these doors have been rolled out to the hangars as well, so we should see them in effect. Anyway, onto med packs. They have added this for the FPS game modes. This obviously restores players' health. In regards to a combat heal, you grasp the syringe and then inject it into a port within the armor of yourself or your friend. Healing like this will distribute the recovery equally to all limbs. Now, in medical thoughts, for me, this is, I think, the basic standard for how it's going to play out in the FPS module. When it comes to the persistent universe, I think there'll be far more in-depth and interesting ways to treat people depending on their injuries. So this is just the first iteration. Anyway, in regards to collectibles, things can either be picked up or scanned, like information as a collectible. Both gets added to your inventory. Tech can be scavenged for monetary value, and dog tags can unlock player profiles. And they are scattered across various areas of Squadron 42, but they didn't really go too much into this. So for those who dared to look at the leaked content, we can see exactly how much work the art team have been putting in, especially to the Vandal fleet. They say it is all concepted out now, and it does look incredible. Very, very haunting designs, which will, if you see them coming, you're going to shit your pants. I kid you not. Anyway, they're putting a lot of focus on players traversing through the scene, so they're rewarding things like exploration with great vistas and compositions, and they're really putting all the environmental art and assets into place just so that you want to explore. So for the visual effects, Squadron 42 particularly, they're working on sparks, steam, fire and damage, space storms, research and development for large turret like muzzle flash, traces and impacts, and also the Squadron 42 cinematics, plus various other ship effects. Now, in regards to ships for Foundry 42, they say the Idris is coming along nicely, maybe even with a few surprises, they say. The Starfarer's interior is blocked out, and the Argo needs just a shader pass, plus the mining drone continues, it says. So onto UI, the work continues with the FPS UI, and they're exploring the style and the look for the Shuban, Aegis and Vandal, but nothing more was said there. And in regards to characters, they are working alongside the Imaginarium shoot in London, and it does sound like some impressive actors or actresses are involved too, because they say they are meeting their heroes, and they said that people always say never meet your heroes because you'll be disappointed, but they say they were not disappointed. So again, no idea who is there, but it sounds very, very intriguing. So onto the new department, which is Foundry 42 in Frankfurt, their German office. They say progress on the large world conversion is coming along nicely. They're working on local physics grids, allowing players to walk freely on ships. They've reduced the overall data size as well, which improves load times, memory and CPU, GPU performance, which will be rolled out shortly, which I'm sure we are all letting out a huge sigh of relief. Now, they have started initial research and development discussions on procedural generation. This is something they put in $1 million to research to make sure that it works at its best. No idea what they've been working on so far, but it'll be interesting to hear what their thoughts are on how to use it. They've also laid down the basics for the CryEngine navigation system, which allows ship crew members to navigate the internals of the spacecraft environment. And they are working closely with the UK for Squadron 42, plus on all other aspects of Star Citizen. Their fingers are in many pies. So on to behaviour. They say lots of work has gone into polishing, debugging and supporting other studios on various game modules. They say they are polishing the features on this FPS and social module, for example, in-game chats, the emote system, which includes dancing, waving and all that sort of malarkey, the FPS module and the lobby multi-seat. I'm not sure what that means. I don't know if that means you're sat in the lobby with your friends waiting for the game to start, but also they're working on the FPS loadout as well. Now for the social module, they've got the chat functionality working. Also you can have multiple conversations, either private or public, which sounds good, and it says it's quite fluent switching between them. Also fixing the interactive items such as flare, holotable and doors, and they have completed the base spawning module, which is where you or the player will spawn for the first time in the social module. Onto planets, they have completed all the new pieces for the industrial mining planet, which is pieces they will use on most of the places, but will be tweaked obviously so it doesn't look exactly the same everywhere. They say designers are exploring and refining locations like the blocks in Terra Prime and also Mariana and Odessa, I don't know how to pronounce it. They're also creating new interior locations and polishing older locations. In regards to the mobiGlass, they say there's lots of polish and progress. They have implemented many animations to make it look extra sleek, and refinements have been made on the shopping flow, and it now displays your UEC balance, and they say you'll be able to buy stuff for real. Hopefully that comes in with the social module. I know it was said before that you won't be able to buy anything in the social module, but fingers crossed they may be ready to allow it. I don't know. Anyway, first pass implementation on the UI, code and visuals of the Microtech kiosk. Now this is used to display holographic images of extra large products that just won't fit the location. Now obviously Microtech create the mobiGlass, and they say they'll work in conjunction very well. These kiosks are also a good way to get the inventory catalogue, and the first kiosk we see will appear in the Astro Armada, which is the ship dealer, which obviously they cannot show you every ship in its full glory. It'll have to be a hologram of it, and then you can see it and decide whether you want it or not. Very exciting. So, on to Ilphonic. The engineering side have been squashing many bugs, supporting animators with the Duke's stop-start system, and work has continued with the zero-G movement and SATA ball feature. Now in design, they have also been working on SATA ball, trying to get it up and running, testing the base set of weapons, and tweaking how the breathing plays into your accuracy. Now they're also reworking the assets of the Gold Horizon, they're polishing all the weapons and creating a unified rail system for weapon attachments. There's new visual effects for SATA ball, for the goal, for the player, just so you can distinguish the difference between, I suppose, the enemy team, the goal, the ball itself, and where your friends are. So on to Turbulent. In regards to the star map, they say the full artistic design for the galactic level view, which is where all the systems are laid out, showing sort of jump point connections has been completed. It is stylistically beautiful, but also functional, so it will show wormhole sizes, it'll show the political influence in certain areas, the crime and economy levels, plus a Galactopedia for all items on the map, so if you hover over it or click on it, it'll tell you all about it. Very interesting, and I really cannot wait to get my hands on that map. They're also working on a new launcher, which will make the patching process more efficient in size and speed. So on to Moon Collider. They are working on a spline system to allow the AI to make quite daring maneuvers, but keep it looking natural so they can follow a route which goes quite close to objects, whereas before they would avoid the objects with quite a distance between them. They're also working on loads of other stuff which is behind the scenes in the AI department. Very important to get the AI working perfectly. If you understand about AI, follow the link in the description because you will be able to read and understand it. There's no way I'll be able to explain it to anyone. Anyway, that was the monthly report. Tell me your thoughts on everything. What are you excited for? So, also this week we met with Ricky Jutley, who is the project manager over at Foundry 42 in the UK. There was a new Kaizen post titled The Nova Dilemma, which I am still yet to read, but I shall do as soon as I get the chance. Bug Smashers episode 3 was out. The link is in the description if you are keeping up with that series. And also, we had a note from the chairman about the resurrection of another classic series called The Bard's Tale. Again, links are always in the description should you want to follow them. Don't forget, we are giving away a MISC-reliant ship. There is a link in the description titled Giveaway, which will take you to the appropriate Star Citizen Sunday with all the details you need. Follow us on Twitter, which is @SuperMacBrother, no S on the end. I often post news and information I hear through the week regarding Star Citizen and other games, plus every so often we give away some hanger flair. Also, follow me on Twitch, SuperMacBrothers Ryan, as I will be live streaming very soon and will most likely live stream as soon as the FPS module hits. Okay, so on a final note, we have affiliated with Razer as we feel they make excellent gaming products, and if you want to help our channel out, plus buy amazing hardware, use the link in our description and we'll get a little kickback every time a product is bought. So yet again we have come to the end of the show. I just want to say a big thank you to all our subscribers and a massive thank you to all our patrons. You are truly helping our channel grow. If you are interested or able to help us out in way of a monthly donation from as little as $1 to any amount you deem fit, check out our Patreon page in the description. This really helps our channel to create more videos, better quality videos, and it allows us to get better hardware, better software, plus it allows us to spend more time on creating the videos. Don't forget to subscribe, comment if you have anything to say, show me the love by hitting the like button and share it with all your friends and enemies. Thank you for watching and I shall see you in next week's show.